Chat, we're gonna hang out in this beautiful, beautiful scene for a little bit. Sit by the fireside. Let's break down the trials changes. I want to go over everything. I want to talk about it from a community's perspective, in my opinion. I want to talk about my thoughts on everything, and then I kind of want to break down some things, in my opinion, as well. Let's just get into it right away. Trials of Osiris is going to be, in my opinion, exponentially better for the overall community this season than it's ever been before in Destiny 2. We've got ourselves a lot of changes that happened before Trials changes were even announced. No 3-peaking. Anti-cheat coming out, which hopefully will help. Crossplay. That's going to allow us to play with our friends on different platforms. It's going to boost the player base. We also got no account recoveries basically announced a couple days ago, which means that we're not going to be wondering when we play against somebody, is this actually them or is it somebody else? And the credibility of weapons will be better once again. If somebody has an adept weapon, you know that that person on that account earns that adept weapon instead of maybe they paid someone to get it. So overall, Trials, even before we got the article the other day, is going to be a lot better with those changes. Let's get into the article, though, that's going to be linked in the description if you're watching this on YouTube, and we'll get it posted in chat if you're watching this on Twitch, and go over all the changes that were announced yesterday. Also, if you want more information on my opinion on recovs in more depth, we'll have that link in the description of the YouTube video as well. All right, one of the things they announced at the very beginning of the article is there's no trials during Iron Banner weeks and no trials at the start of new seasons. I think this is great news. Let's start with new seasons first. When new seasons come out, it's a really important thing to give people the time to grind their power up and grind the new activities. If you release trials on the first Friday of the new season, the playlist isn't very populated because most people aren't ready for it. They don't have their power grinded. They want to do other things. They've been at work all week and now Trials is out. They don't want to hop into Trials and sweat for some loot. There's plenty of other loot to find around the world. So they don't want to do it. Also, over to Iron Banner. Iron Banner is in my opinion, fun activity, but whether you like it or not, I think having it and Trials not happen at the same time is good for both things. For Iron Banner, it means that everybody can just focus on Iron Banner and enjoy that for the week. And for Trials, it takes away that one weekend where Iron Banner's out that nobody wants to play Trials. When Iron Banner and Trials are out, all the casuals from Trials go and play Iron Banner, and Trials turns into a sweat fest. Also, Trials is really fun when it's kind of considered an event, right? What's the map? What are the rewards? Like, it feels like an event, right? And if it happens every week forever, we sort of lose the excitement of Trials. You take away Trials for literally one weekend. I've had this happen in my stream with win trading stuff and whatnot when they take away Trials for a bit. One weekend without Trials and people were like, dude, I miss it. I miss watching you play it. Like, it was fun for me to come in and see it. It sucks that it's not there. It feels normal when it's there 4 out of 7 days. It's literally there most of the time. But if it's gone 1 week out of the month, it's going to feel a little bit more like an exciting event, which I think will just add a little bit of flair to the playlist. So I think that's only good news. I'm not sad about it. I don't need to play Trials every day my whole life, and neither do you. One weekend out of the month or so that it's gone, that's totally fine. Let's keep talking about Trials, though, and what's going on in the playlist like they announced. There is going to be a 90-second round instead of a 120-second round. Minute and a half instead of 2 minutes. Also fantastic news. They're doing so many little things to try to make the gameplay more enjoyable. No more 3-peaking. So no more just sitting around waiting around corners, not actually playing the game. Chaos Reach was nerfed, so no more just sitting and waiting for supers. And they're adding to that by making it so it's 90-second rounds instead of 120-second rounds. Which means quicker rounds, less just, oh, that team's sitting in the spawn farming super. I guess we'll sit on the point farming super too. And if the games are going to play out like that, at least they'll play out faster with less supers. So that's great. No special ammo carrying over to other rounds is also fantastic in my opinion. We've all been there, if you play Trials at least, where somebody's collecting a ton of Witherhoard. I've even done the collecting of Witherhoard. Or collects a ton of Telesto. They win 1 or 2 rounds in a row and all of a sudden the map's getting blasted by Telestos and Witherhoards. Dude, you're missing snipes and linear fusion rifle shots left and right, and it doesn't matter because they've got a deep pocket with tons more. Screw that. You start the round with 2 shots. Sure, if you kill somebody, you can grab their ammo and have a few more shots too, but no more of this. You start the round with the other team having a stupid amount of special ammo and you not having your shots too. It's a great change. Every round will feel fresh. No more carrying over. I think that's wonderful. Let's get into the loot conversation. Hopefully I'm demonstrating to you guys that I think Trials is improving for the vast majority of the community in so many different ways. What are your thoughts on the Trials changes? 90% of them, wonderful. Let's keep going into it. The reward system is getting better. They're making it so when you unlock a reward, which you can do randomly now, it's not like you need to get win 5 on this specific week to get this specific weapon to unlock it. No. You can randomly unlock things you have never unlocked in Trials before, which is great for the overall playlist. And then once you unlock something in Trials, like let's just use the Igneous Hammer as the example, the hand cannon. Once you unlock it, once it's unlocked and you can target farm it. I don't really remember exactly how to target farm it, but once you unlock it once, you can continue to target farm that specific thing you've gotten, which is great for Trials because it means people will want to keep playing it to try to unlock the things they haven't unlocked yet, which can happen pretty much randomly, and then they can try to get the role they want by just continuing to target it. That's great. Let's get into another thing that I think is fantastic. There's no more losses on a card. Before, you would be stuck, you know, if you lose a few games, you'd have to reset your card and you wouldn't be able to progress deeper into a card because you only were allowed to lose 3 or 4 games. Now, and here's the different looking same 14, by the way, looking sort of like it does for Vanguard and sort of like it does for Shax and Drifter and whatnot. Before, you wouldn't be able to continue to play a card if you had some losses, but now you can play this card as long as you want. It doesn't matter how many times you lose. There's just going to be a little flawless or non-flawless box. Now let's start shifting gears a little bit into like things that I don't think are as good. I'm confused why we are doing the no losses on a card, and then also they've announced they're taking away the 3, 5, and 7 wins for flawless loot. I like the idea of taking away 3, 5, and 7 wins for flawless loot and just making it what they're doing now. Win 50 rounds, get a pinnacle. Win 7 games, get a pinnacle. That's the new system. Win 50 rounds, get a pinnacle. Win 7 games, get a pinnacle. That's the new system. That would have functioned great when we had to reset cards all the time, because who cares if you get deep in a card? But now that we've got this no losses on a card, I don't understand at all why we're actually doing away with the 3, 5, 7 wins. 3, 5, and 7 wins is a fantastic thing if you don't get losses on a card. So this is one of the things that's got me scratching my head, and I'm thinking Bungie maybe missed it a little bit here. Imagine that we still have 3, 5, and 7 win cards, right? But you also get no losses on a card. That would be incredible. Why? It would allow people to play the game and try to get to 3 wins. And it doesn't matter if you lose 15 times. You can keep playing, keep playing, keep playing. You want to get to that 3-win loot. You want to get that Trials engram. You want to get there. It doesn't matter how many times you lose, you get there. And then if you want to go for 5, you can keep playing, keep playing. Doesn't matter how many times you lose, you can get there. I feel like 3, 5, and 7 loot should have stayed. Also, what that would have done is made deeper parts of cards easier for everybody, not just teams trying to go flawless, but also teams trying to get to wins 5 and 7. Because for teams trying to get to wins 5 and 7, if everyone's not resetting cards because you never get losses, you just continue to build up wins, then you're going to have less sweaty teams deeper in the card. That would have been great for Trials. You would have had teams that weren't very good hanging out around 4, 5, and 6 wins, matching other teams who weren't very good. So one of those teams would win, and you'd have flawless teams trying to go flawless, matching these teams sometimes, and be like, oh my god, we got an easy game at flawless game. That never happens. This is so cool. So I love no losses on a card, but I'm confused why they took away 3, 5, and 7 wins. The two would have functioned perfectly together. Now it's sort of out of harmony again, and it's kind of weird. There's almost no point in going deep in a card unless you really want flawless. I think the ends of cards are going to be pretty damn sweaty as a result, but they could have done better and made it so that wasn't the case. Real quickly, solo and duo queuing also is fantastic in my opinion. I hope they never separate the playlists. I think if you separate the playlist, you're going to make it so all the casual players are always doing the solo playlist, and it's just going to be sweat, 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 stack teams in 3v3, and then Trials as we know it will go away. Having solo and duo queues into Trials is fine. Before, if you were a solo or a duo player, you couldn't even play Trials. You would have to go to an LFG to try to find somebody to play with, and a lot of people didn't know how to do that or didn't want to do that. They didn't want their KDA checked out, so they just said, I just don't even want to play Trials. But now you have an opportunity to. You can queue into the playlist as a solo or a duo. That's only good news. It means that sometimes teams of 3 are going to have easier matches too. Good for you. And it means that the solo and duos actually have a chance to play Trials. Only good news. Will they go flawless? Very unlikely, but it's going to help the playlist out, add more players to it, and give everybody the freedom to play if they want to play. So that's great too. I'm going to shift the conversation real quick and talk about my least favorite thing that I read. They didn't title it as skill-based matchmaking. I think they titled it as performance-based, and there's very little info on here. But they made it seem like, well, they not made it seem like, they said it. Based on your performance, you're going to match other people in Trials that weekend who had similar performance. I don't know if that's based on flawlesses. I'm assuming it is, or KDA or wins. I'm leaning more towards wins and flawlesses, but they're adding a form of performance-based, skill-based matchmaking into trials, which is making it so the more you go flawless and the more you win, the tougher opponents you're going to have realistically. For the overall community, for your average players, for your less than average players, for your slightly above average players, this is a great thing. This means that the people who grind trials all weekend, hi, that's me, are going to essentially be removed from your player base. You're not going to have to deal with the sweaty sweaties that are playing trials all weekend. You're not going to have to deal with the dedicated players. So for your average player who wants to play 1 card or 2 cards of trials, this is only benefiting you. Do I think it's fair at all to the dedicated players who've grinded the game while, you know, nobody else has been playing trials? No. Do I think it's fair to the good players who are getting essentially punished for being good players? No, I don't. Do I think it's fair that this difficult loot is going to just be made even more difficult for the good players but made easier for the not as great players? I don't really feel so. No, I have a lot of points here for why I don't really think it's at all reasonable or fair for the top percentage of players, but I don't want to get into that too much. For your average player, you guys are probably all celebrating and really happy at my expense and at players who grind the game's expense. You got to be honest, that is at the expense of us. Congratulations if you are not somebody who grinds the game like crazy. If you play 1 or 2 cards of trials, this is wonderful for you. But let's turn it a little bit here. I want to talk about it from my perspective. Just from me. It's going to become a little bit more of a selfish conversation here. A little bit less of a trials as a topic and the community as a whole. Hopefully I demonstrated really clearly that as a whole, trials should be so much better for the entire community. So much better. But I want to talk about it for me for a second. I've done trials carries completely free for over 6 years now, on and off, right? As trials has not been there and other things have been happening and whatnot, but trials has not always been around. On and off for 6 years now, completely free. I've gotten almost 4,000 people to the lighthouse doing this. It's sort of what I do. To be completely honest with you, tell me it's sad if you want to, but I'm actually proud of it. My life and my career sort of revolve around trials. I don't take weekends off. I travel during the weekdays. I've built a carrot system to allow for auctions and raffles that completely revolves around this concept of you guys earning carrots by watching my stream and coming in to play trials with me. I'm proud of it. I've spent so many hours dedicated to it. I've built my entire life and career around it for the past 6 years. I'm proud of it. I've helped so many people get flawless and I've played with so many different people. It's been wonderful. For me, because again, we're going to have this conversation a little bit selfishly for a second here. This performance-based matchmaking system could completely break everything that I have been fighting for and doing for the past 5 or 6 years. There is a very good chance that after 1 or 2 flawlesses, it will essentially be impossible to do carries. I don't know yet the severity of this performance-based matchmaking, but if it really is like you're matching teams based on your performance, I'm going to be matching teams of 2.0s and teams that have gone flawless 5, 10, 15 times that weekend, just like I have, which is going to make it impossible to take somebody from chat who isn't capable of holding their own against 2.0 players and getting them flawless. In the current model, or the model that we've had for 6 years, I can get people flawless. We might have to reset once, twice, 3, 4 times. It's not like it's a cakewalk. It's all the people that are like, you just like stomping bad players. Not at all. Sometimes it takes me 6 or so hours to get one individual flawless. It's not easy. We absolutely have to fight our way through. But if we're only matching 2.0 players and people who've gone flawless 10 or so times, it's absolutely going to be very, very difficult and or impossible for us to get it done. So I'm terrified for my personal future in Trials of Osiris. I don't know how people on Twitch who do trials all weekend are gonna, I don't know what they're gonna do. There's a chance we're not gonna be able to do carries. There's a chance we're not really gonna be able to do more than a few cards before it just gets too sweaty and impossible for us to play. Good news or bad news for the average player in the overall community, I'm setting that aside. For me, that's scary and very, very, very terrifying. I understand this idea of, hey, I'm brand new to trials. I don't want to match somebody who's been flawless 40 times already. I get that concept. It still, from my perspective, means there's a chance I'm not going to be able to do carries anymore. It's not fun to just run stacked either. So just run stacked instead. That's not fun. I want to play with viewers and get you guys flawless. It hurts. You guys can tell me all you want about how, you know, whatever, it doesn't affect me, so stop you, streamer, from bitching. Like, this isn't whatever, no one cares about you, you're a good player, screw off. It hurts. I've grinded trials and helped people flawless during the darkest times of trials, when it was at its lowest lows and lowest lows and lowest lows, and my God, does trials suck right now, but we're gonna keep getting people flawless. I've grinded through that. Just excited to see a better day for trials. And what it feels like right now is that better day has come, and I'm not invited to the party. It's sort of what it feels like. Congratulations again, because the community overall, I think, is going to have a much better trials experience. But that performance-based matchmaking piece, if it is done strongly, because we don't know how strongly it's going to be done. If it is done strongly, it feels like although I've been dedicated, grinding through all the hardest times of trials, they finally made a better trials and invited the whole community minus the grinders. It feels like I'm sort of not invited. And it hurts because I won't get to experience that flourishing playlist that I've wanted to experience for so many years. Everybody else will, but if I get flawless more than 3 times in a weekend, I probably won't get to anymore. So it's scary. Anyway, I didn't practice that speech. That was just a rant. Hopefully I hit every piece that I needed to hit. One real quick summary. So many changes to trials. Overall, fantastic for the overall community. But for me, as somebody who's just wanting to get people flawless and have fun playing trials with the chat watching all weekend, I don't know if I'm going to be able to play anymore all weekends helping people get flawless. This new performance-based matchmaking might stop me from doing that. You might think that's good news, and fuck, maybe that is good news for the overall community, but that is scary for what it means for me personally, what it means for my stream. It's not like I'm going anywhere. I've got a fantastic community. I love video games. It's not like I'm going to just quit and not be a streamer anymore. But what does it look like for my schedule? What does it look like for the rest, for my, moving forward for my career? What happens to my carrot system? How do we warp it? We'll see if any of these changes are necessary or if they happen, but I'm not going anywhere. I'm just scared for what it means for my future, and we'll see. Hopefully we get more information between now and then. Before all you guys are also like, Jake just wants money. I do free carries. This isn't a freaking financial thing like everybody tries to make it. It's more than that. Trials getting better for the overall community. Scared of what it means for me and other people who do carries. Hopefully you enjoyed watching. This was a rant, not practice. If you're watching on YouTube, come into my Twitch stream and hang out with us. We hang out in the stream almost every day, especially if it's a weekend and Trials is out. And hopefully I'll see you September 10th. If you're watching on Twitch, we'll keep on grinding the Warlock power now. Thank you for watching. Have a good rest of your day. My thoughts and opinions on Trials. There you go.